So I'm Ginette Alexander. I'm leading on tree health and training at the Yorkshire Arboretum. Part of my role is developing courses to deliver to all sorts, a whole full range of people, really, from amateurs all the way up through to professionals, teaching them about the different issues we have with plant pests and diseases, biosecurity, the importance of it, also along with climate change resilience, so the likelihood of us getting more pests and diseases or them being happier and overwintering here. So yeah, basically preparedness and educating people to understand the problems that are on the horizon as well as here now. We work closely with some of the stakeholders like the Animal and Plant Health Agency, Observatory, Woodland Trust, all of those guys that have got an interest in learning more about pests and diseases and what they do, how they affect. We've got a fantastic outbreak scenario that we use for Asian longhorn beetles. So we have trees in the Arboretum, there's a plantation area that we've got mocked holes drilled into the trees that we pretend is exit holes of Asian longhorn beetle or citrus longhorn beetle, and then people can come along and pretend that they've discovered this outbreak and see what they do and follow through the pathways and see how the machine of interception works in practice, because a lot of the time people work on theory rather than the actual practicalities of an outbreak. We also do a lot of tours around the Arboretum showing people the pests and diseases that we actually have. So it is a bit of a fact of life. We've got quite a few different things that we can show people as examples, but it can be difficult if you're a beginner, early career, or if you're just working with things in theory. If you haven't seen things in real life, how big is it? Where should I be looking? What do I do when I'm taking a sample? How quickly do these things spread? Things can look really different in real life, so it's great to give people the opportunity to see it, and also to show people how to survey a tree and the different symptoms. The thing about trees or plants is there's only so many symptoms that they can express. So a wilting simple could be all sorts of things, from a fungus to an insect or something happening at the roots, or it could be something happening at the top of the tree. So it's really good to be able to explain to people what's going on with real life examples in front of you. There are a lot of things that we haven't been able to keep out, or things that get here and they're here for longer than before we've discovered them. I guess ash dieback is the one that we've been talking about in our practical today, and it's a key one that everybody knows about because you can see the effects all over the place from that. But that's another good thing about the Yorkshire Arboretum, because we have such a big collection of trees from all over the world. We've actually got about 34 different species of ash, and only half of them are affected with ash dieback. So for studying things like resistance for pests and diseases, as things get worse possibly through climate change, it's really good resource for people to use to study. And also our collection mostly comes from wild collected seeds, so the genetics there are really good for studies, because there's more likely to be better resilience and opportunities for choosing trees that look good. They're growing well in Yorkshire now, so why don't we start planting them in the landscape instead of the relatively small palette that we have at the moment. So my career pathway was quite meandering, really. I certainly didn't aim for this job and take the direct route. I always loved plants, and so ended up doing a horticulture course at Ask and Bryan in York. There was an ecology module as part of that, so I went on to do a degree in ecology at Leeds, and then couldn't get a job because my course was really academic based, and you need to have all the practical skills to get a good job in ecology. I couldn't afford to do all of that volunteering and stuff, so fell back on my horticultural career and worked with my own business for many years. My husband actually continues to run that business now, but I went on to use my degree when I got a job at Ferroscience in the lab. So first of all, I was working on in the seeds and exports department, so looking for different contaminants, pests and diseases on seeds. And as part of that, we used to have to grow on different fungi, which really got me interested in the fungi side of things. And I ended up being a mycology diagnostician, so diagnosing fungal pathogens on all sorts of statutory samples that were sent in, and also samples from members of the public or commercial organisations, which is really interesting. And it's the sort of thing that you could just stay at forever because there's just endless things to learn. And yeah, if you're a bit of a nerd like me, it's just really nice to find that little niche and bury yourself into that. But I did actually move on. I had a little boy and just sort of ended up looking for a different job that worked with my personal life, and became a plant health and seeds inspector. So that's the other side of that. They are always collecting samples as an inland inspector to send into the lab. And then ended up working in engagement, because all along I've been a STEM ambassador. And the reason I've been a STEM ambassador is because I'm dyslexic. And part of the reason for my career path that was a bit slow was because I sort of tended towards practical skills, and skills where I didn't need to write things down, things where I didn't need to be academic, because I had sort of been shamed a little bit when I was younger, and felt that I wasn't good enough and wasn't able to do that sort of work. But now I don't feel like that at all. My dyslexia is absolutely my superpower. It enables me to think outside of the box, do big picture thinking, connect the dots where other people can't do that. And a lot of my ideas are really well used and just resourceful sort of stuff, and things that are valued with where I work now. So I would always encourage anybody who has dyslexia to just think of it in those terms. Often it's called a disability, and I really don't feel like it is. And also, sort of, I think it's 1 in 5, 1 in 6 people have dyslexia, whether that's diagnosed or undiagnosed. So it's likely that even if you haven't got it, you're working with somebody who has got dyslexia. So it's really good to understand what their superpowers are so you can utilise them. The best part of my job is being in the Tree Health Centre. So that's our fabulous new teaching classroom that has a huge big picture window right into the Arboretum. We can throw open the windows on a hot day and teach a classroom full of people fabulous things about all the fabulous trees we can see out into the Arboretum. So yeah, it's a real privilege to work there.